Hello, and welcome to another episode of Scavenger Life. This is episode number 402 at scavengerlife.com.
I had a whole thing to talk about. Outline, great topic. Then I was outside this morning stacking wood, and I just thought of something we've never really talked about before.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Could there be something we've never talked about on the podcast?
Yeah, it's hard to find new topics to talk about, but this one I don't know if we've ever really kind of talked about. So that is, can you build an eBay business or, this kind of business on repeat buyers? Mm-hmm. We've kind of talked about it some just together. In just all, in the 10 years we've been selling eBay, I would say every year we might sell 10 things to people that have come back.
I mean,
don't you think it's about that?
It might be. And the hard thing, too, is it's only when you recognize someone's name.
Right, eBay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like the answer is absolutely no, that you can't really build a repeat business on eBay.
Yeah.
And I only say that because if you just look at eBay, inherently, they don't help make that happen.
They don't give you the data.
They don't tell you, oh, this person that just bought a shirt, they also bought a pair of pants, a month
year ago.
Yeah. There's no way to tell.
Yeah.
Now, any of us that use GoDaddy bookkeeping will actually tell you if that buyer...
I have a technicality
Sure.
to that. If the buyer's name is Joe Smith, and there's 4 different Joe Smiths that buy from you,
Absolutely.
They think it's the same person.
Right.
They're not using email data or username data. They're just using first and last name. Right. So I have seen that on GoDaddy bookkeeping. I'm like, oh, what did this person buy? And I dig down deeper and I'm like, that's not the same person.
So I think if you run a business like we do, where you're just selling random odds and ends, clothes, just everything under the sun, mm-hmm. Parts from refrigerators.
It sounds like me. Yeah.
That, I think people are shopping like I shop.
Yeah.
I'm like, I need something. Right. I do a search. I don't care who it is from. Right. I'm looking at the price and the quality of the item.
Yeah.
That's it. And then I buy it, and most of the times I don't even know who it's coming from.
Right. It's just some random individual seller.
Never do I sit down and be like, let me go and see what, John has for sale in his store.
Right.
And maybe I'll buy something else from John.
Right. No.
Yeah.
I cannot remember any time I've ever done that.
Right. Even Amazon, I feel like because, the way Amazon sells, where there's an item page.
Right.
And then you buy that item, and then they just randomly pick it from some person.
Right, if it's not Amazon itself.
Right. It's almost impossible, like on Amazon, to even try and buy it from the same person.
Unless there's like a bookseller that you really like. I've also never done that.
Now, I know there are people out there right now saying, wait a second, but I sell multiples, or I sell to people every week. I think that there are some exceptions.
Okay.
These are the exceptions I can imagine. So number one would be if you sell like a very distinct collectible.
Yeah.
And you're like one of the only people that have that.
Consistently.
Right. Like you're into like a certain kind of glass.
Yeah.
And you've like cornered the market on that. And so those specific collectible people will come to you.
Right.
Or
if you have an item that runs out, like we sell our honey on our store when we have it. And there are a couple buyers who buy it when they run out because I recognize their name and address.
Right.
So,
well, I think that's the other kind of like exception would be that if you sell a replenishable item,
right, replenishable,
whether it be fresh honey or toner,
yes,
or copy paper,
or shipping supplies,
something that I buy on a regular basis,
right.
I may come to that buyer, like I may save that person, and buy the same thing from them
because I like the price and they, ship fast and all that stuff. But even when I buy shipping supplies, a lot of times I honestly am just looking for the better price. Like if I have to buy poly mailers or peanuts, like packing peanuts, I'm just going by price.
And so, why do I think this is? Well, I think it's because the online experience, for the most part, is pretty much the exact same You know, I mean, like I buy something online, it comes in a brown box or a white box.
You mean
and there's the item.
It's exactly the same no matter who you're buying from. Yeah.
And, you know, and people are like, oh, but I put like a little, you know, hand note and say thanks.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
I do not care.
Doesn't matter.
Most of the times that is like lost in all the packaging. And for the most part, a lot of people are just like stamping that, you know, it's pretty like generic.
Yeah, most people aren't like writing a hand note.
And if someone is really doing a written note, my only thinking is like this person doesn't sell a lot online.
Yeah, they sell like 10 things a month.
I mean, that sounds so mean. Like, and I don't mean, and I'm not trying to say that that's not a nice.
Well, what happens
thing
when you go up in volume is you don't have time to do a handwritten note.
Right. But you know, I guess my point though is you know there isn't a whole lot you can do in an online sale on Amazon or eBay
to get a repeat customer.
That really makes you stand out. Like, whoa!
Like when we first started, we were making like it wasn't a handwritten note, but it was like a printed out little thing with like it literally had our picture on it. Where we're like, "Thanks for buying from us." This is like the old days. Personalize it, right? And then on the back, it was like, you know, it was like a 10 or 15% coupon if you were a repeat customer. And I think like one person used it.
And they just had to email us because
they'd have to tell me.
eBay doesn't really have a way to give out coupon codes.
So, or they didn't back then anyway. Right. So I think one person out of like, you know, thousands of people that we sent those to used it. Yeah. So you're like, you know, she came back for, you know, some other clothing item.
I mean, I guess the other way you could have a repeat buyer is if you hand make items.
That's true.
You know, if you're
if it's a specialty
piece of art or something. But I just find that those kind of businesses, I see very few people who actually make a living,
right?
Who create their own products,
right?
Like
that's rare.
I just feel that that's really kind of a hobby business,
yeah.
Because normally the costs to make an item are so much,
yeah,
that you really don't make a lot of a profit per item, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I would love to hear from people if they do sell stuff. But like you said, the problem is like if you're a high volume like clothing seller or whatever seller, you know, unless you see that username and think, oh, that looks familiar, there's no note on the transaction or the printing page, you know, the shipping page or anything to say that this is someone who's bought from you before. So it's really hard to tell. You might have repeat customers, you know, and if they live in a really weird sounding town, you're like, oh, I wonder if that's the same person.
Yeah.
Although I've had this happen on eBay before where someone will live in a funny sounding town that I'd never heard of before. And within, you know, a couple weeks of each other, someone in that town bought stuff from me. Two totally different people, you know.
And the only thing that you can think of is maybe that was a friend who said, hey, try out this person's store. But
or the eBay algorithm was showing people in that area your stuff. I don't know.
Yeah. So, you know, I feel like there are some new people who I've heard really put a lot of time and effort into like that personal connection.
Yeah, right.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Like, you can do that.
If you really enjoy that, that's so cool.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, there's kind of like an average expectation.
Yeah.
And you don't move the needle much if you go over that expectation. People just want it on time.
They want it on time and they want it not to be damaged.
Right.
Which is what I want as a buyer. And they want it as described, clearly.
Yeah. You know, so those are really, and if they feel they got a good deal, then, you know, that's great.
Yeah. So. But in terms of, you know, selling one of a kind stuff, it's just not, that's just not the market. I wish it were.
But I would love to hear if there are people out there that get, and I mean this, I want a significant amount of your buyers are people that come back again and again.
Like 20%.
I don't want to hear the like, oh, you know, one time I had one guy do this one thing. No, I want like, you know, half of your business is people that come again and again. Because I'd love to know then what that person sells.
Right.
And if they're doing anything they think is special to create a bond with people out there to buy again and
like,
again.
Why are they coming back? Why are they choosing you each time? Is it price?
Right.
Is it that they know you're going to ship, you know, ASAP?
I mean, And the people that do come back and buy, it's from us a second or third time, I think it's by accident.
It's right.
It's going to be like they have a really weird name, and we'll look in our email, and it's like a year or 2 or 3 years ago they bought
it's by
something.
accident. Yeah.
I think that they just accidentally stumbled upon one of our items again.
Right. Yep.
So there's that.
Except for Michael Kors, shoe and purse designer.
Yeah.
He bought from us last week.
Yeah. So
he is my one repeat customer that I automatically recognize.
Yeah.
You know?
And that, again, to be a cynical person, I'm assuming he or she has 28, 60 stores that they have saved, and they go through them.
And it's like his assistant that's buying it, you know? Yeah.
Okay, one other thing I wanted to talk about, I don't know if we've said this to people. So we just got done, we took a business class.
Yeah.
Have we
I don't think we mentioned that. It was like an 8-week long small business development class.
Right. So 2 pieces of information that then are new. Number one is, and I don't think we've said this either, we actually bought a second building.
Yeah.
It's been a while ago.
So we have one building that we're constantly talking about renovating, but last October we bought another building.
Yeah.
We had the opportunity, which is very rare in our town.
In our small town, there isn't a lot of buildings for sale, but this one old guy asked us if we wanted to buy it, and we kind of jumped on it. Now, it's going to take us a while to get to it.
Yeah, we're not there yet.
But the kind of business we were thinking about opening in it, it's something totally we've never done before. And we were like, well, let's take a business class.
Right.
So we can learn
about running a front-facing public business.
Yeah, like a different kind of business, and see if it's even something we want to do.
Right, after going through a class, are we like, this is crazy?
Because, up until now, we've never taken a business class. I mean, I've never taken one like in high school or college. I didn't take one. I never took an accounting class.
Nope.
Everything we've done so far with eBay and our rentals is just basically
us just figuring it out.
Common sense. And hearing other people on the forum and just reading on the internet.
Questions of other people.
But I think we were it's craving being around people who are talking about business.
Right, and asking questions about business.
So this class just ended, and I think the one big thing I took from this was that no one really knows what they're doing. Yeah. I was kind of expecting to go there and be like all these experts. And anyone can take it to one of these courses. If you just Google like SBA, it's like Small
Business Association
Administration,
sorry.
And it's like a government sponsored thing, and they're in towns and regions.
Yeah, they're all over the place.
And they're paid for by the state, so they're so hungry to get people. And most of their services are free.
Yep, or cheap.
They have courses. I think it was $200 for both of us total.
Yeah.
I mean, but they had like entrepreneurs come in and talk to us, and like a banking person, and
like the
marketing.
Local like city. There was one guy that told us all about different business entities,
and it was either like it was someone coming from more of like a theory perspective.
Right. They hadn't run a business, which was so funny.
And they were talking to us, and it was really kind of hazy ideas. And then the real business people that came in, the small business people, were basically like, I didn't know it's what I was doing. I tried this, that didn't work. I did this, and that did work, and
Yep. Well, that was what was cool about it, is we would talk to the people who were, like our age, not that much older. And they were like, I started 10 years ago. This is what I tried. This is why I started my own business. And you're like, yep, exactly. Like, I'm hearing so many, similarities between our stories.
And they told us basically what we've all been talking about. And that is, if you want to start a business, do the numbers.
Do the numbers. That's what the whole class was about.
I mean, I think that was one of the things that was kind of nice, that they gave us a
spreadsheet
sheet that was already kind of formed up, where you can put numbers in and see how much you're going to make. Right. Start figuring out how much it's going to cost to make the product you want.
Yeah.
I feel like most people who have businesses that fail probably don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like they have a dream, they have a fantasy business of what they want. I want to sell a little dog toys.
Right.
And dogs will come in and I'll pet every dog. It's like, that's the fantasy, but the business side doesn't make sense of like, well, how much dog food are you going to sell and how much is that going to cost you?
And what's the markup? And you're competing with Petco and Amazon and like, yeah, exactly.
And you have to, like, are you going to be in the store every single day?
Right.
Are you hiring someone? How much is that going to cost you?
Right, exactly.
So I think the best thing we can do is just ask enough it's questions so we aren't, it's fooling ourselves.
Yeah, it's like you're not going into it blind, basically. Yeah. And I feel like, going through the class and all the exercises, it really makes you think like, do I want to do this? Like you keep asking that question. Do we want to do this? Do we want to do this? Right. And if you're ever like,
can you imagine?
No.
Can you imagine spending the next, 12 to 24 months of our lives doing this? Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Not sure.
So you'll have to guess what the
again,
is.
we're not trying.
You are going to be like, what the hell?
We're not purposely trying to be, but it's just
it's just.
I think it's for us until things are concrete. We hate to talk about. We hate this people. We don't like for ourselves to talk about things that we know we're not going to do,
or we don't know if we're going to do, and we're just thinking about it. Yeah. So we like to just until it's like. You're opening the doors and you're like, here it is, it's open.
Yeah.
We don't like to talk about it too much. But it is interesting for people like us to have that resource of like, well, I like my eBay business, but like actually someone in our class was like, I want to start a food truck.
Right.
And, it was great. He kind of already knew what he was doing, but it was cool just to hear his process and, how he had to like find his trailer or truck or whatever. So it's what we always talk about with the eBay business is that you can have another business if you want. And maybe that's a resource to help you figure out, could I do this?
I remember in the class, we didn't tell anyone we sold on eBay. It's not because...
Oh, that's right. We never mentioned it.
Hide it. It's just that wasn't the business. But we were really encouraging people to maybe scale their stores back at first. Like instead of jumping in and getting a $3,000 a month front-facing store with $20,000 of inventory, just start selling out of your own house. And I think for a lot of people, they're like, "Yeah, I could just try that and see."
Sell out of your house or sell online. Actually, the one person we encouraged, we were like, "Just start selling your little thingies online, and then you'll build up an audience, and you could do them locally, and blah blah blah." And by the end of the class, she had like changed what she was doing. So
so
that was cool.
To me, I feel like anyone that's hearing this podcast, like I feel like if you run a consistent store on eBay or Amazon, I feel like you're light years ahead of most people who even think about running a business.
I think also something, not to toot our own horns, but something that we realized. Toot. Was, we would be, having an expert there or having our teacher like talk about certain things. And we would be like, number one, we already know that. And number two, we actually know a better way of doing it than they're teaching. So I would be really obnoxious sometimes where I'd be like, you actually don't have to do that. You could you don't even have to do that, you guys. Don't even listen to that part. You know, like but it's interesting because I never thought of us as like knowing all that stuff of like you said, start scrappy, start small, start with no money. Like don't rent out a space. How about just like start doing a little kiosk or a little table at a fair or whatever,
Yeah, I mean...
So it was interesting, and then, a lot of people agreed with that and thought it was a better way, instead of like, the traditional way of doing things. So that was interesting to me to be like, oh, we actually do know some stuff about
and
doing this.
I think what it comes down to is that there are the people who get started and learn, and then there are the people that just kind of plan and don't ever get started. Like they're trying to get the perfect business.
Right.
before they even start.
Right.
And anyone I've talked to, and it has been that as many people, but the people I have talked to that run successful businesses all just say, yeah, I got started. I made a lot of mistakes.
I changed things.
A lot of things I thought were going to happen didn't happen, and I had to change.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it gets started.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
I agree with
let's talk about eBay this week for us.
Our actual eBay business.
Yeah. What is your gut reaction?
Slow as hell.
Yeah. You know what? Strangely, I thought so too.
And it's not.
It was a smidgen better than a week ago.
What?
As far as actual numbers go.
But wow, I'm shocked.
Right. Isn't that amazing?
Well, we were away for 2 days. Like, we had to attend 2 days of classes for our business class. So we were out of town. So I changed my handling time for a couple days. So that kind of made it feel slow, but we were still selling.
Right. So we made almost $1,400, which is just like...
I thought you were going to be like, it was $900.
It felt like that,
Yeah,
right?
it felt like that.
So, but it did feel like a slow week. I mean, we sold 33 items.
Yeah.
And I think for us, on a good week, we're selling about 50 items.
50, yeah.
So it really feels a lot slower, where we're selling, 3 to 7 items a day.
Well, and some of those were really low. And like a lot of my offers, like I got like 4 or 5 offers last night, and I woke up this morning and saw them, and I was like, these are the worst offers.
Yeah.
Like, there are no offers where I'm like, that's all right. Yeah, I take that. I'm like,
every offer is half price or less.
Price or less. One guy was like, oh, this is $40. We'll give you $5. I'm like, what?
And you know what? We did take some half price offers. So
I did. I mean, there are some things.
It sometimes works.
Where you look at the item and you're like, oh, I can't believe somebody even wants this thing.
Yeah.
Thank God, but.
Yeah. So, it's. We always say we need to make $1,000 a week.
I'm pleased then.
But man, it is tough when it's like this week after week,
Yeah, and also what's tough is like you're running this store and you don't know what the outside factors are. You're like, why is this week slow? Is it because there was like lots of bad weather in lots of parts of the country? I don't know. Maybe.
It's hard to say.
It's hard to tell.
Okay, so I told our numbers. It was $1,400.
Yeah.
Average price sold was $41.
That's pretty good.
So there were more higher dollar items than we thought.
There were several items that were between 40 and 60. Mm-hmm. And you think, oh, I only sold 4 things yesterday. And you're like, yeah, but one of them was 60, one of them was 40, and
Yep.
so, yeah.
So let's talk about some of the things we sold. Some of the highlights. Number 1 is we sold a small tub of propolis.
Okay. It was quite large, actually. Yeah. So we have a beehive, and what we do is we try to separate the wax and the honey and the propolis. So the propolis is this really, really sticky stuff. It's like wax, but like you don't want to get that stuff on you because it does not come
make
off.
it to kind of seal things up. So when you harvest the honey,
some propolis is on there.
You clean the hive out, and there's all this propolis. It's kind of a wax sticky goo, and we melt it and put it into a nice little thing. Right.
So I had like 1.5 pounds. It was a lot. I mean, people pay a lot of money for propolis. It's crazy. I think that was $184.
It was.
What?
Yeah.
You're like, why am I even selling honey?
And I guess if you're into health food, if you go to like health food stores, and you can buy like a bottle of like propolis, and there's like little.
So you can take like capsules of it. I have no idea if it does anything. You can take capsules of it, but you can also make like tinctures and lotions out of it too, like for skincare. So I don't really know what people are. Buying it.
I've never thrown it away, but I would have been kind of like, I'm just going to throw this stuff away in the compost.
Or like throw it in the compost.
And Ryan was like, I actually partially, you were cleaning off some of the hive on a nice day a few months ago, and you were like scraping it onto this little platform, basically about to throw it away. And I was like, you don't understand, this stuff is like gold. Yeah. Like, I mean, you knew it, but you were just kind of like, So I collected it all and like melted it into a block.
Yeah.
We also sold a pair of Ferragamo shoes for $100. And my only thought when I saw them sold was like, please don't return them.
You know why? Because they're a size 4.5 narrow. That is tiny.
It's just got like my spidey sense. It's just like, ooh, I saw that. I was like, someone's going to return that. Like someone's going to buy that, try them. They aren't going to fit. We sold some wood prints, some wood print art for $120.
Yep.
And that's strangely, we've talked about this the past couple of weeks. We've been selling all this art. Kind of random just art. Like no real name. It's just kind of cool, funky art.
This guy did have a name. This was like a collectible person.
Yeah, well, okay.
Although it was supposed to be a set of 4, but it was only 3, and one of them the glass broke.
Now, it would you say it's the kind of name where if someone bought this at a thrift store and they searched for it, it'd be like, whoa, this is like really expensive.
Not really expensive, but it was somebody, I forget. I gotta have to look it up. But it was one of those things where like I think you could see some solds around the internet, and you're like, these are kind of high, and they were small. They were like 8 by 10. If you had a bigger one, it would be worth a lot of money. So,
but I was glad to sell them,
And they're not like, I mean, they're original block prints, but they're not like an original, like one of a kind drawing. So we
sold a darkroom timer for $80.
Yeah, a photographic darkroom timer.
Things like old timey.
I think mine was honestly the highest price on eBay because I was just like.
I mean, when I
the price I want.
Saw that at a thrift store and we bought it, I was thinking it'd just be more of a cool, like, set piece.
Like decoration. I think I actually sold it to someone at a university who has a darkroom.
Oh, really?
Like someone down in, like, Arkansas.
True darkroom.
Yeah.
Cool. And then everything else we sold was just random, shoes, clothes.
Lots of clothes.
A couple trays.
Yeah, artwork. There was another print that we sold for low. I mean, it was... I actually like lifted up the mat because it wasn't all like glued down or anything, and I'm pretty sure it was just something from a calendar.
Yeah,
but it was like a particular artist like from Canada, so it was just funny. It was like
we bought a lot of old beer cans.
Yeah, this is a while ago. This is like a year ago.
I don't know. We bought like 50 cans or something.
From like the 70s, the pop top ones.
For $10, and we sold one can for $30.
Yeah. That was one of the offers that I took last night. Yeah. I was like, I'll take $30 for a beer can. I think I paid $7 for the entire lot of like 25 beer cans.
I forgot what brand it was.
But it was Janice. Yeah, so is that how you say it?
It was like
Janice.
A northeastern.
It was. I think they're from New York, and this person was in Staten Island.
So if anyone's like, a 60, they're probably like, yeah.
Yeah, I remember back in the 70s.
Janice.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was all right.
Yeah.
Scavenge of the week. I don't think we really bought a whole lot this week, and nothing really stood out. We bought some
thrift store stuff, but it wasn't like dynamite.
But a scavenge of the week, I think, is that you are the best at calling large corporations.
That was a scavenge.
To get free stuff.
So we have a Dyson vacuum cleaner at every house that we own because 2 of them are rentals and get cleaned constantly.
And the reason why we enjoy them is because they're cordless.
They're cordless.
But they're also really powerful.
Yeah.
Unlike the cordless you get at like a Walmart.
Yeah, no.
Like Hoover or something, and like you can't pick up anything.
Like these, it's a Dyson V6. They're up to the V10 now, so we got to figure out what the next one is we're gonna buy.
V10 animal, absolute animal.
Okay, so the thing is with the Dyson, they're under a 2-year warranty, but we buy them used. Well, I actually bought it refurbished from Dyson on eBay, so I bought it directly from them, but. I called Dyson and I was like, so our cleaner the other day was like, the battery is completely dead on this. I'm getting like a red blinking light. And I looked it up and then I called them, and that means you got to replace your battery. So I called Dyson and I was just like, what do I do? And they were like, well, you can buy a new battery. And if you buy it directly from us, it's $90. And I was like, well, number one, I'm going to buy it on eBay.
And they said that a vacuum's not under a warranty anymore.
Yeah, it was not under warranty anymore. But I told him I had 3 of these. I was like, I have 3 of these. And he's like, well, you got to register them with us because you don't have any of them registered. And he was like, I'll just send you a battery for free since you're such a great Dyson customer.
I mean,
which is true.
Here's my takeaway. If you call any company, especially a large corporation, they will give you free stuff.
Sometimes.
Because the number of times someone will actually take the time to call is so low that they're sitting there, and they probably have like a number that they're allowed to give out free. And so if you just call, you can be one of those people.
If I was under warranty, they would have sent me a new battery. But probably if I was under warranty, my battery would still be good.
But we saved $90 on a new...
Although you can buy new, not Dyson brand batteries for like $25 on eBay.
I still want to say that it was a good win.
I'm happy. I'm still waiting for it to come in the mail.
And it means it will keep it buying that a vacuum.
Right, exactly.
Okay, customer issues. Two things. Number one is we sold some knives the other week, and they had like a wooden handle.
And the handle came off one of them.
You know, the person was like, oh, it came off, and like, I want some of my money back. And I mean, the obvious answer is like, a lady, put some super glue in there, and it's like
stick
good
it
as
back
new.
on.
But
at the same time, look, if I got something like that, I would demand my money back too, even though I would have just glued it.
So we gave her $6.
It was $6 back.
And she was happy. The second thing is...
Oh, God.
We sold a $400...
It was $350.
$350, like, handmade, heavy steel lamp, like a sconce.
It's like this big
lantern.
Yeah. We were going to use it at one of our rentals, but it was too big for the area. We kept, like, hitting our heads on it.
We sold it to a guy in a $4 million house.
In, like, Malibu.
And anyway, he messaged, and I guess it's partially our fault. He thought that it had a light element in it. Where he could just screw in a bulb. But it was more just the housing.
Raw housing.
And then he had to install it, or
he had to have someone install it anyway. Right. Even if it had that, it would be tough for you to install that by yourself.
The knife, you can't just say, come on, just fix it. Yourself. It's not a big deal. It's like his expectations were shattered.
Yeah.
And he was like, I just want to return this thing, which would have been...
God, I don't like. First of all, it took me like an hour to pack this thing.
So what's interesting is, he opened up a case, so we said, well, we'll give you a refund of $50.
Right.
So he can then hire an electrician to put in a $2 light in there.
Literally is a $2 piece.
And then we learned that what happens is then that stops the case cold.
When when you officially offer a partial refund.
And now the point of action is for the buyer.
So here's the thing. I think what happens next is the buyer can say yes or no. Yes, I'll take the $50. Or no, I just want to return it. But he's not saying anything. So my hypothesis is that it says after a month of the opening of the case, if he doesn't respond yes or no, the case gets closed. Right. I have to call eBay and double check that because I don't want it to get closed and he gets all his money back.
Right, because we want him to send it back if he really doesn't own the item. We're trying to work with him, but we're trying to see if he'll take a partial refund. My guess is he's calling an electrician to get a quote to see how much that's going to cost. Right. Now, if he comes back and is like, well, this guy says it's going to cost $300 to install this thing, well, we'll just say we'll send it back. Send it back. I'll eat it's $50 to ship it. Right. But we'll see. Anyway, it's just one of the pain in the asses when
you see that and you're like, oh, that sale, first of all, you were so glad to sell it. And then it took me forever to pack it. It took like over a week to get there because it was like, ground.
It's just one of those
And then he gets it and he's like, I don't understand why I can't just like put it on the wall. The thing weighs 20 pounds by itself. You're like, dude, you gotta like have someone
steel.
Yeah, I'm like, you have to. The thing is like 25 inches tall. You're like, you can't just like plug this into your wall. Like this is like an industrial handmade piece of like, what did you think you were buying? Right. I don't know. Sometimes And, you know, obviously, I'm like, you live in a $4 million house in Malibu.
Doesn't matter.
I know it doesn't matter, but I'm like, thanks, dude. Like, thanks a lot. Like, you have the resources and the money and the time to figure this out. And, yeah.
Okay, things we learned in the forum. We had one of the most popular posts we've had in a long time.
Yeah.
I think it really hit a nerve. Someone posted about, you know, this happens all the time, where you have a buyer who writes and says, can I have a 30% off discount because I'm a senior,
right.
or, you know, I'm disabled and I need money, or I'm a homeless vet, or I run a charity for homeless vet people. Give this to me for $1, you know, this sob story. The actual, it all started with a seller said, I spent all day yesterday posting a lot of Cabbage Patch Kid clothing.
Right.
I have most of them priced at $14.99 with free shipping.
Right, that's true.
You're already like, you're not making any money.
Yeah.
So she said, I woke up to find a message in my box. Hello, I was wondering if you might take under this item for, you know, under $10 for this item, as I'm a senior, almost 70. And my doll needs this. Please let me know.
What?
And I just think everyone has had, probably more often than not, and everyone was chiming in with their stories of the sob stories.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, I think we all agreed. You deal with the offer.
The offer and the item.
And you forget.
Doesn't matter about the story.
The drama.
If someone's like, will you take $20 for this because I am hurting for money? You're like, well, it doesn't matter because yes or no.
Right. I mean, you know, because we will sell things for half price.
Yeah. I mean, I do that
We
sometimes.
will do that. But it does not matter to me the
circumstance.
Reasoning. Yeah. You know, these buyers often also tend to be the worst.
Yeah.
Because they nitpick.
Yeah.
So they'll fight you down. They'll get you to where you're almost like, I wish I didn't even sell this thing.
Yep.
And then they get it, and then they're like, there's a little spot that you didn't talk about. Yeah.
You're like, oh,
give me another $5.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I think we've all had those situations. And at first you're like, oh, I feel bad, and then you're like, first of all, this could just be a complete fabrication. And second of all...
Most likely.
Yeah. And second of all, I am also a person trying to make a living and, like, save money. And, like, there were many times where I had no money.
A lot of people said on the forum, like, if you're on fixed income and you're broke, why are you
buying doll clothes?
Why are you, doll clothes or something that is not a
necessity.
Right.
It's like a frivolous. I mean, that is bizarre. That's super bizarre.
Yeah.
That's funny.
But I'm assuming that we all get those kind of messages because it works.
Because it must work for them sometimes.
There will be a seller who's like, oh yeah, okay, I'll ship it for free and sell it to you for $1.
And you'll ask for more money back and you'll say it's not as described.
Okay, so if you do want to join our forum, it's scavengerlife.com/forum.
And please, once you register, please email us and say you registered so I know you're not a spam bot.
Yep. Okay, so let's take the calls or emails that people sent in this week.
So you can call our voicemail line. The phone number is 540-407-8486. Or you can email us an audio file from your phone. Our email is thescavengerlife@gmail.com.
Hey guys, this is Blake. I had just started listening to your podcast. I actually started from the bottom on TuneIn, so I'm behind. I'm at episode 349, I think. But I have a quick question for you guys about some vintage snowshoes. They're like from the 1970s. They're like fur boots. They have like hair all over them. It's crazy. But I have them and they're damaged a bit. But I'm wondering if you guys have ever experienced anything like this with shoes, like used shoes, because I know you guys sell used shoes quite a bit. Have you ever had an issue where the sole was coming out and you guys just glued the sole back and then sold them without letting the people know that there was a sole problem, or should I look deeper into that issue on how to resole it, or I don't know. I'm just trying to get your opinion. But I appreciate you guys' time. Thanks. Bye.
Okay, this is an example of someone driving when they're calling us, which we ask people not to do. However, we could hear you. So it's interesting. Yeah, I've had that issue before where I have glued soles back on with shoe goo. You can buy it at Walmart or buy it online.
It's officially named
shoe goo. And it works really well. But the other thing you could do if this is like a really super cool 1970s pair of boots is just sell them like that and disclose it and say it needs to get repaired or this is just for display. I've sold shoes, old Nikes that you're like, these are some of the original Nikes. You cannot wear these. These are for like literally a museum display, which people have bought them for.
Yeah, I mean, if they're of a certain style and if they're old enough, I mean, even if you were to put the sole back on, the sole might be cracking or
rigid.
Or I just wouldn't trust someone to be able to put them on and walk. I think that's the question you have to ask is like, could someone put these shoes on even if you glue them and then just go out in their normal day? If these are snowshoes, like walking around in the snow, like if you don't think they would hold up, then you need to disclose that.
Right.
And then they need to take it to a professional cobbler.
That's what I think you should do. I think I know what kind of boots you're talking about. They're like Yeti boots where they're 1970s like snow boots, but they're all furry. Like they're totally wacky.
Right.
But I think you should sell them at a good price and have someone else deal with the repair.
Right. And because, again, some of these shoes people are never going to actually wear. They're buying them to put on a shelf.
Right, as a display.
They have like a snow... What is it called? Like a snow tavern or what do you call those
exactly.
things?
Yeah,
and they have
like an alpine tavern.
And they have like horseshoes on the wall or whatever you call them.
Skis hanging up. I mean, really, like it's like a set decorator almost. So think of it like that. A lot of times, like when I sold a couple pairs of Nikes, one that I remember was to a guy who had a little like Nike museum in his house. Because I think I looked him up and there was some article about him, but he knew that the soles were like cracked and whatever. And then the other pair that I sold was to Nike headquarters. Yep. So they were just like making a wall of vintage Nikes. So those are, you know.
Final thing. I remember the reason why we finally came to this, like, aha, is because we sold, like, this really old, it must have been from the 50s or earlier. It was like an exercise thing.
Oh, God,
It was like a rubber stretchy thing.
Right.
And the rubber thing hadn't been that big of a deal, but it came in the original box.
Yeah, it was like a display piece.
Artwork.
Yeah.
And then it had, like, the instructions. It was, like, vintage
athletic
stuff.
workout stuff.
And we didn't even think someone
would use it.
And the person bought it, and then they wrote back and said, I use this, and it broke. I want my money back. So we had to refund all their money. I'm just like, you actually thought you could use like a rubber workout thing that's like 60 years old?
Yeah. So you just have to figure, like, is someone using this for set decorating?
Right. We should have said.
Yeah, but that's when we started doing it.
For decoration only.
For decoration purposes only.
Hi, Jay. Hi, Ryan. This is Tommy in Canada. I just finished listening to your most recent podcast. Thanks for doing that. Thanks for doing it for so many years. A couple of things I wanted to comment on. First, Jay was talking about auctions, and it made me think of a question I saw on some forum the other day. You know, how have you increased your efficiency in your business? Well, for me, it's been in upping my average sale price. Right? Would you rather sell 1,000 items and pack and ship and that, or would you rather sell 50 items for the same amount of money and for the same kind of return on investment? I just don't have the time anymore or the interest. You know, to pick up mugs for 50 cents that I can sell for $12, you know, to maybe $40. You know, who's got time for that? It's small potatoes. And over time, I've been trying to up my average sale. And, I've crossed $100 recently. And I don't source the little stuff anymore. I'll still do $50 items and things like that. But the more and more I can get into multi-$100 items, that I'm confident in, and it's been working so far, and auctions are where it's at for that kind of stuff. Also on the recent seller update, I remember listening to or reading your manifesto years ago, and I thought, you guys get it. You guys think the same way I do. I got the message from eBay, and I smelled the drama in the various forums I'm a member of. But, for me, flipping's about quality of life, and life's too short to spend time bitching in forums. I'd rather be doing business. So, I never worry about these things. I wait and see how they work out. I'm not going to spend my day creating posts all over the internet going, oh my God, eBay's trying to kill us. So anyway, keep doing what you're doing. I really enjoyed the podcast, and have a great day.
So first of all, upping your average price sold. Yes, that's what we all want to do.
Right. I mean, I think that was the big jump for us from being like kind of scrappy, making $300 a month and being happy with that to realizing like, oh,
we price things higher.
We just need to like research. I mean, like it's easy to see what this sells for, and we can sell it for more.
Look, I'm the queen of pricing things for more than anybody else has it priced. Like that darkroom timer clock thing. I was like, oh, everybody sells these for like $40, $50. I'm putting 80 on mine. Yep. And it sold for 80. Like, I can't tell you why,
Exactly.
So, I agree with that. And he was saying his source was auctions for higher price items, and that's right.
Yeah.
I hate to admit it, but that's correct because you will find a diamond in the rough in a box lot because you won't even know that it was in there, and you're like, this thing's worth $300.
Yeah, I know it's kind of a big thing now. Everyone's like, well, I source online. I do online auctions.
Right, that too.
And my thing is, like, that's cool, so they buy online and then they go pick it up. I'm like, the reason why in-person auctions are so cool is that it's such a limited number of people bidding on the same
There's
thing.
a barrier.
I think that's why a lot of our local auctions have gone online.
Right.
Because they've realized they make more money when they sell online because
they just ship to anybody.
Instead of sometimes only 25 people show up to an in-person auction.
Right.
Even if it's a local auction, there might be 400 people who are bidding on these online auctions.
Right.
So really, in-person auctions, I think, still are the best places to.
Right. It's that geographical barrier where it's like, if it's all in person, I mean, there's only a radius of people that can go to that, and a lot of them aren't.
And go, it's during the daytime.
Everyone is looking for different things. Right. So it's in the middle of the day, so you're like...
People don't want to hang out there for 4 hours because they have better things to do with their time.
How long were we at the other auction?
Well, that was extreme.
It was like 9 hours.
We showed up there at 9 and we left at 6 or 7. So it was a long time.
So that was extreme, but I think if you're willing to go to auctions, which most of the time I'm not, I'm like, my whole day is
I think the other thing too is I really feel there is a limit though to what you can find and sell that's reasonable to buy. So, I would love to find things that only sold for $500.
And we're not just finding
I have been talking about that forever. It's like, how do we get 500 items in our store that will sell for $500, because I want to sell $500 items all day long. Time. It's very difficult for us to find those kind of items out in the wild that you can buy for a reasonable amount of money.
And other people aren't trying to buy it and bid it up. Like, that's the hard thing where it's like, is if there's something that everybody's like, we know this is valuable. Like, you're not the only one.
Right.
So that's what makes it harder.
Yeah. I find like, $30, like there are items that are worth that you can sell for $30 online, They're everywhere. People are just throwing those
literally
things away.
Throwing that stuff away.
You can buy them for $1
or get them for free.
You can find every so often an item that sells for $100 that kind of sneaks in.
Yeah.
But they're not as often. And then the $500 items is like super rare.
And, your comment about the eBay changes. I mean, we're the same way where we're like, okay, eBay's changing something and we probably have to go along with it and whatever. But I got to keep moving on. Like, I cannot just be mad about it.
I mean, I've said it before. If someone truly believes that eBay is trying to kill them,
they should not sell on eBay.
Is like purposely trying to hurt their business, then they should sell someplace else. Like, why would I be on a platform that I thought was like actively trying to hurt me?
Yeah.
Hi, this is Mark. I was just listening to your latest podcast, and I wanted to mention something about selling parts. I have sold a lot of used appliance parts in the last 5 years, and you can certainly make good money, but there's definitely higher returns, like you have had on 2 of your parts off your coffee maker. A lot of times people are guessing what is wrong, so they just order a part and it's still broke and they blame you. Or sometimes they'll keep your good part and send back their bad part. Not very often, but it has happened. So I just wanted to mention that for people that want to sell parts. There's certainly money to be made, but it's a little more hassle than selling vintage items that are cool. Thanks a lot. Love your podcast. Bye.
Yes, I totally thought that one of those returns, actually both of the returns on those parts, I was like, oh, I bet they're returning the old one that wasn't whatever. But I scoured my photos and I was like, oh, there's a little scratch here. Nope, this is the same one.
Why do you use? I find like that's a very common fear,
Right.
And why do you think that people have that fear?
Because I'm sure it's happened before,
okay.
And also, I mean...
But I mean, it's never happened to us.
Yeah, but I just started selling parts.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I guess for me, I mean, I understand it's a reasonable fear, I guess, but it doesn't have to just be a part. Someone could buy like a pair of shoes and send you back their old shoes and be like, and then it's their word against your word,
Right.
So...
Yeah, it's tough. No, I like, right.
I just think that it's more people. I think people are reasonable and honest for the most part.
Yeah.
And I think that we all overassume that people are really like devious and like,
I think for me, I just have to go on the assumption that someone's not going to do that because if I keep thinking about that, then I won't.
Right. And even I know that there will people who are going to call in and be like, it happened to me one time.
Right.
Okay. But like statistically, if it happened once every 1,000 times, it's not enough to like hurt your psychic mind, Like
here's an example. I sold a pair of sneakers to a woman and she returned these sneakers while we were away. We were traveling. So I saw that it got shipped. I saw that it got to my house. I was like, fine. It was like for not fitting. So I'm like, fine. I gave her a return. I came home like a week later. She had shipped back a completely different pair of shoes. It was the same brand and same model, completely different color.
Really?
Yeah. So I had sold her a pink and white pair of sneakers and she sent back like a blue and yellow pair of sneakers. So at first I was like, I need to write her and be like, you sent back the wrong shoes. But at the same time, I was like, these are actually in better shape than the shoes I sent her. So I'm going to relist these and sell them for more. And I did. Wow. I like upped the price. I was like, you sent me better shoes.
Yeah.
I told her she made a mistake, but I said it wasn't a problem. So that's one example. But another thing about those parts, like someone sent a part back and was like, part of this is cracked.
And it was.
And I think that when my helper was taking photos, the part that was cracked is black plastic, and I think she couldn't see it. You really had to look at it. Although she's usually good at pointing that stuff out. So what I did with that part, and you kind of laughed at me about this, I actually parted out that part because it was made up of like 5 different components.
Right.
So I was like, I'm going to take the cracked part off, and then any piece that I can still sell and unscrew from this like front panel thing, I'm going to list it by itself. I haven't sold anything yet, but I'm like, you either sell a broken part, I mean, what am I going to do? Or I'm unscrewing the pieces that made up that part. So,
I mean, I think that the thing that I can see happening is getting a lot of returns with these kind of parts is just that people buy them and they misdiagnose their problem and realize that wasn't the part they needed, or they didn't know the actual model of their item and they buy
that happened to the first part. It was the coffee bean grinder, and they said it didn't fit the machine. I'm like, oh, I know for a number one fact that this came out of this machine because I parted it out, you know. So I actually disputed part of their return because I was like, that's not correct, that this is not as described.
But we will see. So we have a bunch of these parts online, so we will be able to actually see if we have that problem of people doing the old switcheroo.
So far, it's been pretty good. I mean, it hasn't been too bad.
Hi. I just wanted to say, this is Eric in Phoenix, Arizona. I wanted to say I love your show a lot, and I listen to it every Monday, and for information and also inspiration. And I thought it would be a neat idea if you guys left your phones on while you recorded your podcast. We could all hear the cha-ching as you made possible sales when you record. I think that would be fun for us all to hear. Just an idea, just a thought. Thanks for the podcast. I love it. Thank you. Bye.
Okay, so the issue with that idea, number one.
Yeah, Ryan, why don't we do that?
I'll tell you an issue with that. Also hearing all my text messages come through and like my weather alerts, every single alert that comes through, right? Number 2, I do a double recording. So we record on a recording device and on my phone, and I can't record on my phone as a backup recording.
I get in trouble if I leave my phone on and we get the cha-ching.
The other thing too is if we leave our phone on with like its ability to get a signal, it distorts the recording. So if you've ever heard like someone have like a microphone on and you hear these like with this weird distortion, it's because they're like getting a phone call. The other thing too is if we get phone calls, it's just, my phone's just going to ring and we record on Sundays, and Sundays are quite a busy day for us, like with cleaning rentals and stuff. So people are talking to us all day. So I don't think that would be very fun for you to hear my phone every like 2 seconds buzzing.
Hey guys, I was just listening to your podcast about the preview of the upcoming changes, and the part where they're changing everything till good till canceled for buy it now. I don't know why you guys still think that's a conspiracy theory. I think it was the year before last or 2 years ago, one of eBay's SEO experts said at eBay Open that selling similar versus relist actually refreshes that item as if it's new with, I think it actually gives it a new item number as well. But, I mean, that was coming from eBay's top SEO person there who was giving a speech. The other thing, too, to think about is if you have an issue with slow sales or whatever, if you call in to eBay, if you're trying to figure out what the problem is or whatever, a lot of times what they'll do is they'll do what's called a blank bulk edit. And what that does is they'll go into basically your seller hub there, and they'll select every item that they can, or all of them, and they will hit change or edit basically without actually changing anything. And that is supposed to kind of refresh and wake things up because you're doing, it recognizes it as a change or an edit or something like that, and it kind of refreshes the listing. So they actually do that when you call in. And then on top of that, that was something that was passed along, I think it was 2 years ago, from eBay at the Open regarding sell similar versus relisting. So there is a difference there, and I can see where people would be upset that normally do the 30-day listings in order to sell similar when those are over or versus relisting. So anyhow, I don't think that's a conspiracy theory when it's coming from eBay themselves. I think there's still probably a video out there of it somewhere. But just want to let you know, and talk to you later. Bye.
Yeah, so this gentleman is talking about there was someone posted, I guess, some eBay person talked at like an
eBay Open years
conference.
ago.
It wasn't that long ago,
really?
several years ago.
Yeah.
And he said if you refresh, you get better ratings. I mean, I remember seeing it, and it wasn't that like clear that he said that, but whatever he said, people really clung on to.
Okay.
My thing is this: if you believe these things, then just do it. And just I don't know why it's always such a kind of like a debate and argument. And I guess my only thing is like, then if you are consistently refreshing your items and a listing is new and you go through the whole thing, then you should be able to prove you have much better sales.
Right.
The numbers I've seen from sellers that have been willing to share, it's not a very large jump.
Like I had to make some edits on some items that were over 16 months old. So I had to end them and relist them. It was a lot of items. And I did that several days ago. Yeah. I mean, my sales are super slow
and
still.
I remember when this came out and we were like, okay, let's try it. So we actually ended I think we had like 6,000 items in our store.
We ended everything
and re-listed them as if they were brand new, that they had never been on eBay before. And we did not see that big surge in sales. So I guess is my thing is like, I don't really care what someone said. Show me the numbers.
And it doesn't matter what they said works. If it works for you, if you are seeing a change, keep doing that.
Yeah.
It's like when people say, "Oh, you got to list like new fresh items all the time." Basically, you got to feed the beast, right? I listed a ton of items last week.
Yeah. I guess my pushback is always just like, I think that the importance that people put on being able to kind of fool eBay's algorithm, I think they put way too much importance on it. I think that it can't hurt.
Yeah.
But I think that your sales are more affected by what you actually sell, your price, your photos, and then just the retail time of year.
Yeah.
But again, eBay, I guess for me, I like that eBay is just now telling people you list it once.
It's good till canceled.
It's good till canceled. There's no being able to choose. But if you do want to resell do your items, you can. You can still do that.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, that is it for the podcast this week. You can check out the blog at scavengerlife.com for the links we discussed and to join the conversation on the forum. Again, you can email us an audio file of a question or a comment. Our email is thescavengerlife@gmail.com. You can also call our voicemail line. The phone number is 540-407-8486, and we ask that you please do not call while you're driving. We post an episode every Monday morning. On Wednesday, we post a What Sells video, currently being brought to you by Steven Schultz. You can support us on our Patreon account for as little as $5 a month, or you can subscribe to us through iTunes or YouTube for free, so you always get the latest episode. You can also buy our archive on our sidebar. It says download all episodes. It's 5 years. It's 400 episodes of the podcast if you want to listen offline on your listening device. We are ending this podcast in 3, 2, 1.
Goodbye.
Bye.